Almanac is a planet on fire. At least half of it is. The other half is caught in the worst winter you've ever seen, and all of it is howling with wind that can pull you off your toes if you ain't careful. Sandwiched between those two extremes is the Terminus, a band of land around the planet that most of the settlers of this world reside in, place of eternal sundown, or sunup. That depends on your point of view. Running from the noon side, cutting straight across the Terminator zone and into the long dark on the other side, is the Sun River, named for the behemoth of a canyon that's always lit up brighter than hellfire. Shipfarers say Almanac looks like the devil's disembodied eye staring at you, a snake-eyed slit of an iris and an orangish eye, pitch-black mischievous eyelid of the night smiling up from the bottom. Of course, humanity has found better worlds to hole up in, places you can watch the sun go down after a hard day's work, but not on Almanac. Sure, the world turns, but it ain't turning an inch faster than its parent red dwarf star, spinning like two kids, running round and round, arms held tight, locked in a spiral till they taste dirt. If it weren't for the Crowe family, there wouldn't be any reason for anyone to up and quit their life to come to Almanac. So why do they? Well, ain't nothing worth cash ever slid past a human. For the last 3 centuries, people have come a-flocking. Hell, the corporate courts had to ban most travel to the place. Thanks to the Crows, this rock has the distinction of being the one and only planet in the galaxy where folks' souls can be measured, borrowed, and sold. Welcome to Almanac. The camera opens on a shot that's mostly filled with white, a blazing, oppressive sterility deep within the heart of the John Henry building. We see a woman walking towards the camera with a clearly wealthy couple behind her as they follow her through this monochrome hallway. Katie, what does she look like?
She's slender in a statuesque way. Her hair is in a black bob with rich tan skin and striking blue eyes. Her dress is a pencil dress exquisitely tailored, black with white stripes down the sleeve, and kitten heels.
The three of them walk past glass windows reminiscent of something you'd see in a museum to look behind the scenes at the people working away on the trade they've spent their lives pursuing. We join them mid-conversation as their clacking heels on the slick floors reverberate through the wide hallways.
I'm so glad that we were finally able to have this opportunity to show you our facilities. I'm so sorry you couldn't attend last time, but believe me when I say it truly worked out for the best. Today is an extremely exciting day for us. It's Edict Branding Day. I pulled a few strings for you, and I've been able to get you both seats in the viewing gallery.
We cut to inside one of these rooms, looking out through the glass at the hallway, and in this wider shot we can see a retinue of assistants to both the couple and the woman walking ahead of them in an opulent procession. In the foreground, we move past layers and layers of shiny chrome, buffed to a microscopic clean, machines the result of untold years of science and progress, all built for the purpose to be shown off today.
Branding Day is always a celebratory day for us. It's so exciting to be able to make such a difference for our clients and our creation partners. Of course, we deliver the edicts to our clients, but it's incredible that we jointly make such a difference in the lives of our creation partners. The Crowe family are so strict in their selection criteria. We, of course, receive more partner applications than we can support, so we're able to make sure that only the most qualified are chosen.
They turn into another corridor. Portraits of smiling families and children adorn the wall, drawing the eyes of the couple to the various charitable organizations the Crowe Family Corporation has donated to over the years, along with other pictures of families smiling, standing in these very halls or in front of the building the retinue now walks through.
When I first joined the firm, I was actually part of the selection team, and I cannot tell you how much joy I saw in every family we called to tell them that they were selected. This is a life-changing generational event for every family. It's winning the lottery. And once they are chosen, we take care of everything. Housing, education, healthcare, living stipend, everything. They never want for anything again. We are now on our 4th generation of branding, and many of our early partner families have contributed multiple creation partners. In some cases, we need a younger partner, and the family will raise a child their whole life in preparation to be branded. Can you imagine how amazing that is? Knowing your whole life that you will bring such joy to your whole family.
Now we see them enter into a space filled with accolades. This hallway is adorned with concept art, early incorporation papers, blueprints, and aged photos of the early team, all artifacts of the Crowe family business.
If you look at this photo here, you'll see one of our most prolific creation partner families. Their youngest will be our brand catalyst today.
We cut inside a room at the end of the hallway, looking through bulletproof glass windows.
And here we are. The usher will show you to your seats, and I'll guide your staff to their accommodations. Thank you again so much for making the time to be here today. I'll connect with you after.
We see the casual multi-millionaire couple get seated inside of what appears to be almost like a surgery observation room that you'd find in a hospital, but overlooking a room filled with equipment reminiscent of the Manhattan Project. Incredibly intricate devices and machines are everywhere, cords clearly labeled and wrapped in tape, the whole room filled with a shine of not quite air. Inside of it, the people working are suited up in the oxygen-free environment. Half a dozen figures wearing suits halfway between spacesuits and surgical ones. The room might remind someone of Earth of a chip manufacturing facility. Clean, clean, clean. One figure is strapped to a chair. An 18-year-old boy with glassy eyes. A menagerie of IVs litter his skin, administering dopamine, endorphins, and everything else the Crowes can think of as efficiently as possible in a practice care of a team that's done this hundreds of times. We see a large cable that's been surgically implanted into his forehead. Large wires coming down, running over his back and then between his legs that we see are two strapped to this sleek, clean metal chair. The thick fiber optic cable runs along the ground and then up into the hands of an edict engineer. He holds one in his hand now. One could mistake an edict for an ordinary firearm, but it would be difficult. Modern weapons made of composites or plastics, occasionally metal, and none of them look as remarkable as the weapon this engineer holds in his hands. Hand-machined and purposely reminiscent of an old-world revolver. The handle is made of New World wood, which seems to swirl like a mixing can of paint into the chromed buff metal receiver of the 8-shot revolver. A hair trigger is grounded inside of a simple rounded trigger guard, underneath a smooth cylinder covered in filigree, personally commissioned to the billionaire who's destined to own such a thing. The hammer is all gold, red paint on the back, but the sights are modern, somewhere between traditional and holographic. Large holes are present above the barrel that's a matte pitch black color. The engineers in the room prepare themselves for the work ahead, last-minute checks, mutterings, as the few in the observation room look through glass with excited expectation. Finally, it's clear to all present that the work ahead is about to be done. The idle chatter and scrambling stops, and all eyes are turned to the man holding the edict, aimed at the 18-year-old boy strapped to the chair. A glassy-eyed look, laughing to himself as his head rolls in a listless euphoria. The engineer turns, his face hidden behind a reflective acrylic mask. He nods to a man by the wall, who then initiates a sequence. The lights flicker, and everything not absolutely necessary for the branding goes dark, a world of white turned deathly black. A nod is exchanged between the two, and we cut behind the sights of the soon-to-be branded edict, trained on the man in the chair. A close-up shot of the trigger, the golden hammer moving forward, the explosive sound, and then a cut to an overhead shot of a city grid. A momentary blackout rolls outwards from the Crowe's family tower, the city lights in every direction going out momentarily. A flickering wave, a sacrifice on the altar of the Crowes. The Sun River carries light into the Terminus all the way from Noonside via a sequence of massive crystalline formations. Although the Kakovas claim their family formed these when they first landed on Almanac, most rightly assume that the alien-looking towers have been here longer than the dirt. Through these kaleidoscopic behemoths, UV light gets bounced like a buckboard all the way down to El Despoblado, the cold side, with every straggling photon along the way snatched up by a farmer making ends meet by growing earth plants. It's a veritable green paradise in the riverbed, save for the quakes, hostile fauna, and corporations breathing down your neck. Smack dab halfway down the canyon they call a river, and stuck in the perpetual sundown of the Terminus is a city unlike any other on Almanac, a place called Trinity, home of the corporate courts and residence of every family worth spitting at. The greater Trin City area expands into prosperous farms and homes that come with an expiration date. The true heart of Trinity is just offset from the river, a dead-ended offshoot of the fractal weaving line. Trin's population ain't nothing to sneeze at. 4 to 10 murders a day don't make a dent in size. People plenty to create demand for an entire entertainment complex, chuck houses enough to house 100 chefs and their snuff problems, and industries worth billions of chips annually. A jam-packed city grid hiding in the shelter of the canyon. Folks here say there's only 3 streets in Trin City, and Crowe might say there's only one worth a damn. Names of Union, Highland, and Dove. The Dove Strip is pushed up against the leeward side of cliffs that rise more than a mile high. It runs east-west on the north side of Trin, home to corporate headquarters, theater companies, and every good-for-nothing that will sell you happiness without a tinge of irony. The Strip looks like a red light district took Vegas, then found God and neon both. Wide streets of tar patches are filled to the brim with drunken, cash-rich passengers and their underpaid drivers. Walkin' folk travel under the gaze of menacing high-rises and in the shadow of more motorways held up with hydraulic metal frames above, everything rusted and cracked with each passing storm. All the proclivities of the working class are pandered to in markets clumped into run-down buildings that will still rent to the unincorporated. Narrow little shops like tattered paperbacks shoved into a bookshelf. These bastions of dying entrepreneurial dreams peter out towards downtown, where skyscrapers rest on quake-resistant foundations. The wind barely touches here, only noticeable by the wary or paranoid and the slight swaying of buildings too far from the cliffs. Red starlight pours in from the Sun River like an ill-aimed fire hose, illuminating rooftops and errant structures in a permanent orange-tinged blood color. Dove Strip gets the best of it, the whole damn thing lit up in sunlight like someone took the brightest spotlight you ever seen and turned it unto the work of God. An eternal crimson sundown, while restless clouds sprint overhead, lit with the shifting purple sunset of the Terminus. Today, however, the wind carries in from the wrong direction, a frigid storm blowing in from the unthinkable dark, pushing pedestrians at hurried paces and forcing shutters and metal sheets to pop up to defend windows. The city carries the heaviness of people unsure where they might sleep next week, and the dread of farmers taking refuge, worried they might not have a home to return to. But all of this is lost on Crowe. The John Henry Building, lovingly called the Tower, is the first structure that was built on quake pads, massive springs underneath the foundation that prevent catastrophic failure of the 60 stories when Almanac sets its mind to mischief. The exterior of the tower is between a courthouse and a bunker, all gray with blocky steps on every approach. From that unremarkable trunk shoots up floors seemingly misaligned. From the flat platforms created every other story sprout planters of corpse flowers in spots where the sun shines, and the black and bruised-looking local flora where it don't. Rising rounded columns frame the building like a concrete cage sandwiching large glass panels. Large black spikes protrude from the structure with an iridescent shine that turns hues of grim purple or colorful rust if the sunlight hits them. The lobby of the tower leads entrance to the corporate floors, residential floors home to the Crowes, or, on nights like this evening, the space is reserved only for the underhanded dealings and peacocking of the entitled. An earthwood paneled lift opens into the luxury Grand Gala mega floor, and Harriet Schreckengast exits into this vista through buffed steel doors onto polished black floors covered in extravagant rugs and furnishings. The entry hall is all wood panels with heavy velvet valances and their matching drapes dripping to the floor. Huge round wheels covered in symmetrical lights add white to the blue light coming through the filtered grand windows as the other new entrants carouse with colorful drinks around overstuffed, button-dimpled chairs and couches. Kaz Crowe is the first to meet her eyes as she enters. What does he look like?
Kaz is a young man in his mid-20s. Enough years of life to think he has it all figured out, but not enough to bear any scars. About 6 feet tall, slender, has the build of a gymnast. His hair is slicked back really severely with quite a lot of pomade tonight, which gives it a really dark kind of tone. He's got sparkling eyes. Tonight, he's got earrings in each ear. He's got a nose ring, septum piercing, and he's wearing a midnight blue lounge suit, which is distinguished from a regular suit in that it has just a little bit more silk across it. The lapels are silk. He's got gold jewelry on his fingers, some nice patent leather slippers with the Crowe family crest embossed on them in a miniature pattern of gold. He looks up from the local celebrities that he's busy hobnobbing with to make eye contact with Harriet. His mouth breaks into an easy grin of welcome.
She's probably in her 50s. She's wearing a green tuxedo on the top that transitions into a ball gown on the bottom. She carries a green cane with her, a tool of necessity turned into an ableist fashion statement. A ball top with an emerald and a line of purple diamonds run down the stained wood. She walks up to you with a bright smile on her face. She's got dyed black hair, sharp eyes, immaculate eyebrows, and a jawline that borders on sinister. You know her as a member of the Schreckengast family. Actually, Kaz, what if we did almost like a retroactive persuasion roll, and then sometime in the past you've learned this information about them?
I have a D10 in persuasion, but my wild die blew up into a 10.
The things you know about Harriet Schreckengast is Evelyn, the current matriarch, has gotten a little bit too old, and so they have literally adopted Harriet into their corporate family. This isn't unheard of. It's a little unorthodox. Normally, you just hire a CEO from outside of the family to help you run things, which comes with its own legal stipulations in the corporate family society you're a part of, but they just cut through all of that by adopting a 54-year-old woman. Is there any other information you want to know about her?
I'd like to know if there's anything that she finds particularly taboo. Is she the type of person who, there are things that could offend her? If they're not, things like that aren't done in polite society.
Definitely.
Okay. I think Kaz has just gone out of his way to maybe figure out if there's one or two things that she particularly hates. I can imagine that the aristocratic sport of jousting, which for everybody else, they assume it means running around on horses. For the aristocratic class and the ones that Kaz runs with, generally, it's when two young gentlemen in a party have guests or other partygoers mount up on their backs and then they charge at each other. Sort of like chicken in a pool, but they do it on top of dining room tables. That's jousting.
I think it's fair to say she'd find that gauche.
Kaz is a fan. He doesn't compete himself, but he runs betting pools every single time. So he just wanted to make sure that a few of his jouster friends were going to be there tonight then. So as Harriet comes up to him, he smiles very deeply, politely excuses himself from the local news anchor that he's hanging out with. And as he turns to her, he'll tap the two rings on his left hand together, and his suit changes color to match hers in a very complimentary sort of color as a welcome. And he smiles, bows appropriately, and then kisses her on each cheek.
Oh yeah, she returns that. I think she holds your hand in one hand while that goes on. You can see she's got black suede gloves on as she does that. Wonderful to see you, darling. Thank you so much for the invitation. I didn't think we were this kind of friends that you would invite me to something like this, but it's such a wonderful surprise.
I could not imagine imagine a party without you here, Harriet. We have some events planned. And he smoothly takes her hand, curls it around on his elbow and starts walking her, escorting her deeper into the party towards a drinks table. We have some events planned that are absolutely going to make your head spin. There's no party like a Crowe party. And after all, I guess you must not have very much experience with the Schreckengast parties.
I'm sure I'll make up for that shortly, darling. And I heard this is a party you're throwing with Vivian. It is so nice of you to take up a charity case like that.
Well, you know us Crows. We can never turn our back on a sad sack now, can we? And he pats her hand very, very reassuringly. We find it that it's our duty to make sure that everyone is welcome when we bring them in. After all, it is our legacy that has built so much of this. He'll motion to the bartender for a few drinks, completely skipping the line that was there. Walked straight past everybody and just motioned for beverages. Have you seen Vivian lately?
Oh, of course not, darling. She's been too, how should we say, preoccupied with getting used to her new faculties, I've heard. Not working out the best for her, but what can you do on a budget?
I understand exactly what you mean. Kaz takes both drinks, pauses for a moment, throws them both back. What would you like?
Her eyes narrow just the slightest amount. I'm sure I'll figure it out. But if you could mind, at some point, I heard that you managed to get both the arbiters up for election. How did you manage to do that for your shut-in party here? If you don't mind me asking. Now, Kaz, the corporate arbiters, basically judges that oversee all your families and the monopolies and the licenses, are up for election. And that election is happening tonight. A lot of the people here are the ones that are going to be casting those votes. You have managed to get both of them here. How you did that is up to you. One of them is Felix, a bit of an outsider, a kind of reclusive farmer. He made his money through cropping out the Sun River and isn't really tied to any major family that you know have, but somehow has managed to get enough support to be one of the favorites. And the other one is Raul, an old school institutional guy, a longtime business partner of the Giddens family.
Can I nominate Isaac for a Benny for his line about drinking both of the drinks and then turning to it?
Yeah, that got me. Yeah, get a Benny for sure.
Yeah.
Isaac.
So she just asked me how we got both of the arbiters here, right?
Yeah.
He looks at her, the picture of grace and poise in this social setting. Well, it's just like when you have to have a new suit made. You don't want to make the choice somewhere else. You want the options brought to you. That's how you end up with this. And you can avoid accidents. And he doesn't look at her dress, but it's clear that he's not looking at her dress.
She smiles with ill-disguised malice, says some pleasantries, makes her goodbyes, and as she disappears into the party, we see a close-up shot of Kaz Crowe's face as he smiles in victory, as the camera turns around and starts to fly through the party. Now, Kaz and Vivian, if you two want to work together here, this grand gala floor is a combination of two things. It's whatever Kaz's mother redesigned, like she revamped this whole thing about 20 years ago, and whatever you two have salvaged from that. What elements of this room have gone out of style, and what elements have you brought in to sort of make up for those?
I think my mom had a really, really religious phase, and it was at the time that she wanted to re-renovate this. She was going to hold revival services in here. I think it probably became a cathedral for a little bit. So she did her best to convert this place into a place of worship. So the part that's gone out of style is there's cherubs everywhere, little cherubic figures on the walls, statues. A lot of them have been covered up or repurposed. I think for tonight, we put clothes on a lot of... No, we didn't do that. That's tacky.
Yes. Actually, that was what I was going to suggest.
Okay, sick. Okay.
She's got the connections.
Perfect.
I think something that's still very much in style are maybe she installed, those flying arches that church ceilings have a lot of the time, like the old world churches.
Yes.
They're just so pretty and ornate, and I think there are quite a few of those here.
I think we've sort of arranged it into multiple, almost pods. We've created these little zones with lighting from the roof and some screens and things. So like we have different themes for the different biomes of the planet in each of these little areas. All the attendants, of course, are like dressed like the wildlife from those areas, bodies painted and like headdresses and stuff being worn. And in some cases, like Vivian, what would you think if we had a couple of them like actually dressed as like cherubim to kind of like make it ironic almost?
Yeah, they have to have the little wings too.
Mm-hmm.
The camera turns around. It's almost like someone was trying to like over exaggerate the swaying of the camera as if it was flying through the different people in the room. You know, you see little setups of people in ridiculous outfits from all the different families past these servers, and then it pulls up on a group of 3 people: Vivian, Luella, and Tanya. Luella is the current matriarch of the Rook family, and Tanya is kind of like one of her right-hand people. You two are not friends. You and Luella are friends, but you and Tanya are kind of like passing friends. You've probably been at some parties and stuff, but she's the kind of friend where like you always see her talking to other people in the corner while you talk to somebody else. Luella has olive skin and eyebrows that are almost always raised into a menacing question. She has long hair that rolls down over one eye to her waist in sort of this waving, flowing pattern past where her belt would be. She's got purple lipstick on and round, circular, just-for-show spectacles that have purple lenses that come down to rest on her nose as she stares over them. She's wearing a long Middle Eastern inspired shawl with a hood up covering all of her hair except the one that's flowing down her front. That comes down covering one of her arms like a poncho and then running down to the ground like a cape. And then she's got billowing pants on, and all of them are built in the same purple fabric, which is that wispy kind of stuff that the air catches at every turn. And on top of that are these embroidered, sparkling purple flowers. So purple on purple. Some of it is see-through, just a hint of flesh at every turn. Tanya has much lighter complexion with hardcore resting bitch face. She's blonde that's tied up into a couple buns, deep eyeliner, gold earrings, red lipstick, and then she's got on this dress, which on the top half is basically just a turtleneck with really heavy, defined vertical ridges running up and down it in lines. And then the bottom is just a white, frilly mess of a mop, like someone took a bunch of little strings and tied them into this thing. Carries a briefcase with her. Tanya's sort of looking around skeptically at the party, kind of disinterested as the camera pulls up. What does Vivian Rook look like?
Vivian Rook is a lithe woman. She's got sepia skin, freckles are all spattered across her face and chest like her own little constellations. Her hair is dyed a cool purple that's darker at the roots than the tips, and it's not quite clear how it's styled, I don't think. Is it short? Is it long and just pinned up in ways that people can't see? That's a real mystery. She has little hair danglies that frame her face and are kind of tickling her collarbone, so she has to keep tossing them away very elegantly. She has these cybernetic seams winding over her body that brighten and dim with her general energy level. They are the same cherry blossom pink as her eyes, and tonight she's got on a dress that's dark blue with a long translucent purple half cape sort of trailing behind her like a scarf. The fabric of her dress is manufactured to manipulate the light that the viewer is seeing and perceives, and it almost looks like a picture frame when you're looking through it into another world cosmos. It's just stars and it doesn't move quite right, and maybe it's meant to beguile and entrance just a little bit.
Damn, that's cool.
Cool
as shit.
as hell, yeah.
Vivian, I can't believe how many people you got to show up to this party. This is incredible.
It is the first lock-in party that Kaz is throwing, so, we had to make sure it went off well.
Well, I can say with absolute certainty that it has. You two have outdone yourselves.
It's a very important night. It's a night of magnitudes. The outcome affects us all in some way. Might as well make it one that's favorable.
Well, I'll make the rounds. No need to concern yourself with that. Between me and Kaz, I'm certain that we can make things go favorably for both the Crows and the Rooks. Now, more importantly, I cannot tell you the levels of excitement my heart is filled with knowing that you're part of our family now. How are things going with Ulysses?
I think well enough.
Good. I told you you'd like him. I knew it. What do you like most about him? Because I can't stand him, to be honest.
I like his little mustache.
I suppose you could persuade me to believe it's cute.
I don't know. He's just very thoughtful. I guess you could say brooding.
I just think you're going to bring out the best qualities in him. You're going to be the butter to his scotch.
Lou, do you put butter in your scotch?
Well, I mean, I do. I'm not sure about everyone, but listen, there is something I'm terribly excited to tell you about. Do you want to hear about it?
Of course I want to hear about it. You know I'm incorrigible.
She leans in a little closer, like conspiratorially, trying to cut Tanya out.
Yeah. Tanya is kind of distracted looking around the party. She seems kind of paranoid for some reason. Luella leans in and says, well, too bad. I'm going to tell you later.
What a tease.
Well, yes, but it will be worth the wait. I will, however, give you a hint. Pretty soon, we're going to match.
Vivian squints a little dubiously, but nods.
Oh, look who's coming up now. Your partner in crime, Kaz boy.
Kaz walks up, unable to restrain his grin. He pulls the cigarettes out of his lips. Luella, you look more delicious than ever. He bows extravagantly and deeply. These are some of the people that he likes most in the world.
Oh, Kaz, you're such a delectable little treat. I could just take you in a pop you in my mouth like a little caramel.
He grins. He grins on the way back up, but actually just gives a wink to Tanya. I have good news. Takes another drag on the cigarette and then holds up his perfectly manicured right hand. If you'll follow my finger. And he slowly, theatrically turns and points across the room at Harriet
Schreckengast. Yeah, close enough.
Slowly turns. I wrote it down and I just covered up my note.
So it's like a swamp Shrek, like you're Shrekin and then you're aghast, Schreckengast.
Classic combo. Yeah, classic combo.
Ghost.
Schreckengast.
If you'll just look right over there, he theatrically turns, extending his hand and points across the room at Harriet Schreckengast, who's in the midst of what looks like a heated debate between young socialites who are arguing over her about the various polo teams in town.
Oh, she's never going to be able to keep up.
He looks over his shoulder, grinning at the three of them. Did I do good?
Did you do good? Did you do well?
He thinks for a moment. Are those different?
Oh, Kaz, it's like bringing a little baby sheep into a den of wolves. It's simply dastardly.
And the best is yet to come. He winks. I will be right back. And he whisks himself off into the party.
As he's whisking himself away, she shouts, Kaz, don't forget me when it's time for the joust.
His cackle, it is a loud cackle. If you have a friend in your life who has a laugh that just pierces rooms, that's Kaz. He has no desire whatsoever to filter himself, just absolute glee, realizing that the jousting is going to be coming soon.
That boy is simply wasted on the crows. The camera once again sways back, almost like the cameraman is on a hoverboard, and it follows him through the party and then pushes up ahead where Kaz sees Claudius Crowe talking to someone I'm not sure you recognize, a man by the name of Montana. Old money looking guy, 60, big fella. I think he's got a cigar in his mouth, just sucking on it, not even smoking it. And he's wearing a very traditional, very out of style suit jacket with a white shirt. And he's bald, so just a shaved head. Works for the Wilder family. The Wilder, of course, being responsible for mainly security. Both him and Claudius, I think, have drinks in their hand, and this man is boring the man opposite him to death. Austin, what does Claudius Crowe look like?
Claudius is an older man, just past his prime. Medium height, lean, but sort of broad shoulders. He's got caramel-colored skin and very fine wrinkles. The skin tone that's either a very expensive tan or a lifetime spent outside. He's got dark black hair that's brushed back, streaks of silver in the sides, a little pencil mustache over his top lip. He's at first glance a man of industry. He's neat, refined, perhaps trending towards too slick or oily. He's got a serious look in his eye, and he's nodding along, appraising, maybe judgmental, but not mean. He's got a dark black suit on, this very subtle hexagonal gray pattern on the slacks in the jacket, a cummerbund, a bow tie that's glowing very slightly at the edges, a pocket square at his breast that's doing the same. It has this very small pattern of tiny doves and crows on it. He's nodding along to Montana, and he or at least attempts to subtly look down at a watch worth more chips than most people will make or ever see in a lifetime. He shakes his sleeve back over it, his cufflinks rattling expensively underneath. He's got a drink in one hand, this neon orange liquid sloshing, and in his other hand he's holding a wrapped bottle, the same pattern on the wrapping paper as his bow tie, and he's got a hat as well. He's clearly just entered the party, and he's trying to pay attention and look around as well, trying to catch somebody's eye.
Well, I'm so glad we could find the time to talk business like this, you and me, Claudius. I just wonder now that I might say we're friends, wouldn't you say, Claudius? This cigar is shit. It just disintegrates all over my mouth. I'm using it as a prop, but it's a fucking piece of trash. Claudius.
Yeah, well, Montana. Yeah, sure, we're friends, and he's desperately looking over his shoulder.
Now, I was just wondering if your family was going to start opening sales anytime soon of your prime product, edicts. Because I've had my eye on something for a while.
Well, I tell you what I tell everyone. There's a waiting list that you need to be on, and I'm sure any day, you know how it is. There's supply problems, production problems, everything.
Well, if you don't mind cutting the bullshit with me, friend, I know supply, well, it's limited, but I'm not sure production is your issue. I think whoever's running that family of yours needs to get a stick out of their ass and do something with your license. Otherwise, well, it'd be a shame to lose your legacy to other production, shall we say.
He lifts a hand up, puts it onto the shoulder of this Montana, and for the first time makes eye contact with him. It sure would be a shame to lose things, wouldn't it? A legacy. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, quite right.
I think that might not be the only thing you should be concerned with. Everyone has troubles, Montana. Don't make yours worse.
I think there's this recognition in his eyes as your reputation comes to the forefront of his mind as the camera sees Crowe walk up behind you.
He squeezes his shoulder a little too tightly and gives maybe a genuine smile, and then just turns around to look at Kaz.
Kaz smiles at Claudius and then leans his head to the side to peek out around at Montana. Uncle, it is a pleasure. I am so thrilled you made it tonight. The entertainment is just about to start, and I might be able to get you out of this one. He looks up at him like, do you want me to?
He nods, steps forward to shake Kaz's hand, and then leans in close to his ear. Kaz, you said there would be 10 people here.
Oh, well, I said 10 of my friends would be here, and they are.
Now I have to work tonight, Kaz.
No. This is a shut-in. Everyone deserves time off. You and I both know you need a little relaxation. A little R&R. A cigar wouldn't hurt you at all. He starts patting his pockets for a cigar.
I don't need his garbage cigars.
Well, I never.
That's true. That's a Cristo. I can get you something better. But you do deserve some time off. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, Uncle.
He lifts the bottle up that he was carrying in his hands. He rips the wrapping paper off, hands it to Kaz, pulls the cork with his teeth from this very slim bottle and fills up his own glass again, and then corks it and hands the bottle to Kaz.
Kaz is flabbergasted. Uncle, that is a Chateau Le Rouge? It should be decanted. You should not drink that straight from the bottle. It needs to breathe. Oh my God. He almost starts to panic. He's looking around frantically for service people and starts snapping his fingers.
I think I'll survive, Kaz. Hold that bottle. Are the arbiters at least here, like you promised?
Oh, yes. They are
Both
here.
of them?
Both are here. He thinks like really hard to he's pretty sure they were both here, but he hasn't seen both of them. I've seen them both. They're in the back. Raul is in the midst of, I believe, setting up rules for a jousting tournament. And Felix was giving a lecture about crop rotation.
So this whole exchange has been like real tight in shots of their faces going back and forth. And then finally we cut to a third angle, which is the two of them on either side of the frame while this old guy with a cigar in his mouth has just been standing here this whole time.
Well, I thank you for your hospitality, Kaz, for running this whole thing for us, this whole shindig. It's good to see a boy like you up and coming. I've heard good things about you from Frontenac.
Oh, yeah, of course. Thank you. I'm so thrilled you were here. Lily tells me all the time what a great father you are. And we need... I hear you're great.
Well, one day you'll be a role model, Kaz, if you can pull yourself up from your bootstraps like me.
Oh, well, that's always the dream. I am so lucky.
Claudius is trying really hard not to laugh, really hard.
I am so lucky to be in this kind of environment. It fosters my creativity. Last week, actually, Uncle Claudius and I just started a new business venture together, which I'm very, very excited about.
Yes. Well, I'm sure I'd love to hear all about it, and maybe my daughter will tell me about it. But I think I must excuse myself. I have some business to attend to, if you don't mind.
Oh, of course, business, naturally. Take this bottle of wine, and he hands him the bottle of wine.
Do you have a decanter?
Okay.
Fuck. As Montana walks away, Claudius puts his head down, drops the hat at his feet, looks back up, and is a changed person. He's smiling, his eyebrows are raised, by all appearances, now happy to be here. Look at me, Kaz. In my eye, Kaz, look at me.
Yes.
We need to have 5 minutes of discussion, and then you can go have fun with your friends.
Kaz glances down at his watch. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. The lockdown's coming soon, so I don't want to miss it. It's we put a lot of effort into it. Vivian and I both have planned a lot, and I don't want the countdown to get messed up.
I understand, Kaz. What's important about tonight is who we elect as the arbiter. I know Raul. I need you to tell me about Felix.
Kaz sighs, and as he realizes that he's going to actually have to have this conversation, he searches his memory for a moment, and then perhaps with a little bit more acuity than we're used to seeing in this environment, he takes a drag on his cigarette and looks up at Claudius. I ran a couple of our usual incentive packages by him, very gently. He was unreceptive to both. I tried, and neither one really got him going. My read of it is I don't think there's a number we have to get to. I think he's genuinely just principled, which, that's great. That's what you want in an arbiter. But I don't think just cranking up the numbers is going to do anything.
Claudius is still smiling, looking to all the world like he's having pleasant cocktail party conversation. Any particular vices or transgressions you know of?
I don't think there's anything that would be an instant disqualification. There's probably a few we could use for leverage. He runs a hunting club out of his farm. It's all semi above board. They pay the families out, and they have life and contestant insurance for everybody. So that would be one. And at least from what I've observed tonight, he is a fiend on snuff. But you never know at a party like this, right? Once people start relaxing, once they start having a good time, I think that's what everybody's doing here. Really, is just sort of letting go of the cares of the work week. Thank God, and just sort of letting loose a little bit. So.
I will alter my notes for Felix.
He's really into snuff
Felix
and hunting people.
Runs a Hunger game.
Murder druggie.
Is snuff a drug or...
Yeah, I think snuff is a catch-all term for anything you can snort.
Well, I suppose the usual. You be the carrot and I'll be the stick.
He grins. Carrots get bunnies. Winks.
There's zero reaction from Claudius. He blinks slowly. You can go have fun now, Kaz, but remember, the point is the arbiters.
Of course.
Say
Please.
It back to me.
The point is the arbiters. Having a good time.
Thank you, Kaz. I'll remember this, that you locked me in a room.
Don't think of it as being locked in a room. Think of it more as being given a forced vacation, which you desperately need.
Thank you, Kaz. Go have fun with your countdown.
He smiles. Please don't miss it. It's amazing. I got an outfit from Salvatore.
I don't know who that is, Kaz.
Oh my God. He won New Designer of the Year 3 years in a row. You know how he did that? It's impossible to do that because you're only allowed to win it once. He changed his name every time. Kaz scurries off.
The camera does not fly away. It hard cuts to Ulysses Rook. Unlike the other characters we have seen, there is no one vying for his attention. There is no one paying attention to him. He is standing in a corner, observing the room. What does Ulysses Rook look like?
Ulysses Rook has the same light olive skin as his sister Luella. His shaggy, tousled hair is the shade of nearly black hickory. The facial features are sharp and angular, as are his dark eyebrows, pencil mustache, and slim physique. His eyes burn a hawk-like yellow-orange, indicative of the cybernetic augmentations the Rook family is known for. The avian eyes reflect his manner, upright posture with a wandering, shrewd gaze. Faint shadows hang beneath his eyes, inky stains of an aged soul. His clothing might be described as a business tunic of dark tones and lighter accents that match his glow, along with complementary slacks and loafers. The sleeves of his tunic do not extend beyond the elbow and lay bare honeycomb-style patterns that etch the length of both forearms and end at the wrists. Each finger has one matching hex atop the first and second knuckles, and the fissures seethe the same shade as his eyes. He's holding a fruity neon blue drink and casually takes sips from it as he scans the room in silence.
Make a notice roll for me.
That is a 3. I'll Benny that. That is a 7.
As the mood of the night starts to root itself in the minds of the party goers, you can see a few people start to break off with scrupulous? What's that word?
Unscrupulous?
Yeah, are they without scruples or with scruples?
What's the scruples they got?
What's the scruple situation
Yeah,
here?
talk to me about how many scruples.
You see some people look around with paranoid looks on their face, the looks of people about to do something they'd rather no one notice. But of course, you do. You see many people break off to go into a side room. I'm not sure if you would really know what's going on in there. You could check it out if you want, but a lot of people are breaking off to go in there. The people of interest you see go in there are your sister, Luella, Tanya. I think we see the guy that Austin was talking to, Montana, along with Joanna Kakova. I mean, there's some other people, but those are sort of relevant people that you recognize that you see go in there. Do you want to look in there? Is that not something you care about?
Ulysses is a fly on the wall here, and he's spent a lot of time watching and waiting with no particular purpose or intent. So I think if he feels it's possible to follow the crowd without drawing too much attention to himself, he would be inclined to do so, if only to break up the monotony of the peacocking.
I think you find yourself then following some of them to these velvet curtains that hang around this archway. We get a shot from the front of your face as you pull this curtain back, almost pushing it and sliding under it like a snake. We see your yellowish, orangish eyes start to glow in the dark as you look into this room. The music is louder here. There's sort of strobing lights of various colors. It's like someone set up a rave in a church, because Kaz and Vivian were not responsible for any element of the party design in here. This is Ophelia Crowe's room. Your eyes are drawn to her, and we get a close-up of your eyes as the whole iris turns, and we get a point of view shot from you as your whole view magnifies and zooms in as if you were looking through binoculars. And you see in that room the various far-flung habits of the rich, substance abuse rampant, people laughing not out of any experience they're having in the room, but rather what is occurring in their own minds. And then I think it's at that time that perhaps Vivian comes up behind you.
Vivian arrives with less vocalization and more of a hip check, a little zestier than she meant it to be, which I assume jostles him out of his observations and reveries.
It's your magnification on your eyes, Doug. What's that like when you get jostled, you know?
The zoomed in picture shakes violently into a blur, and then we see the front of Ulysses' face as he blinks rapidly, and the pupils of his eyes contract back once more. And he glances over to see who interrupted him, and he says, without much surprise, hello, let me find it here.
Does it sound like this?
Well, hey there, boy.
Are you seeing video of this, guys, or is this all
No.
lost?
Oh, I am,
Oh
and
my
I'm
God.
enjoying you
Yeah, that's all that
deep-throating a cigar.
Oh,
I mean, I can't describe to you guys. It's 6 inches in his mouth. It's truly incredible.
How are you still talking like that?
It's like a puppet. I'm really amazed, actually. Caleb's very talented.
Should work for the Jim Henson Company.
This is how they get the Kermit voice.
Hi ho, Kermit the Frog.
Of course, you have fucking Kermit impression. I'm sorry, Doug.
So he turns to Vivian.
Kermit.
Turns to Vivian. Hello, my dear. Are you enjoying the party?
Well, I enjoy every party I go to, but I was just coming over here to get your feet wet, 'cause it doesn't seem like you've been talking to anybody else, and we're here to socialize and get you back in the spotlight more than you were.
I thought the point was for me to be present, to be observed. It's not as though anyone wants to come and speak with me.
You'd be surprised.
Much prefer it the other way.
I came over to speak with you.
I feel comfortable saying that you have some level of obligation.
She bobbles her head back and forth a little bit, but shrugs.
I don't belong here, Vivian. This isn't my scene. This is these people there. I can't relate to them.
That's because you're not talking to them.
And what would there be to talk about?
Well, case by case, I don't know. That's why you talk to them and find out.
Oh, what drink are you having?
It's blue, I believe.
No, that's what you ask other people. Ulysses. Come on.
This is not... It's all theater, and I'm here as a mute jester.
That's a bit dramatic.
Is it?
I think so. It's a lock-in. It's for fun. Have you been to a party before?
It's been long enough that I'm clearly out of practice.
Well, I'm just dipping my toes back in as well. So, learning together.
Yes, well, why don't you take me forward and show me what it is that I'm supposed to be doing?
Anything you want, that's the point. I'm going to go joust later.
Yes, well, what I would like to do is stand here unimpeded to finish my drink and think of all the things that I would rather be doing.
I'm sure you could find a drawer with a squeaky hinge you could fix up.
Is that going to be any better for my image than to stand around looking impressive, or whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing?
Statuesque.
Yes, well, statues don't talk, do they?
Not usually.
He bobs his head back and forth, somewhat enticed by this thought.
I'm just saying.
Where's Kaz?
In the wind. Preparing.
He has a way of livening things up.
There's still time to leave if you want. Like, you don't have to be locked in here.
No, I do. That's part of my obligation. Don't you recall?
Well, we should at least find Luella then. You can be seen together.
Yes, that will make all the headlines. Yes, where is my extravagantly garmented sister?
If you think that's extravagant, just you wait.
I think he gestures with another rattle of ice to the flashing lights and pulsing music, which they're taking pains to speak above, and says, everything about this party is extravagant.
That's the point.
To flaunt, to be seen.
To just shove it in Harriet's face.
Well, she at least deserves it.
Yes, she does.
I think, Vivian, this room you're adjacent to is not something that Kaz has brought up at all. In fact, it's kind of surprising to you. I mean, it is basically just a drug den. There's like a vague vapor in the air of something that maybe you can make out Ophelia Crowe smoking somewhere inside, and somewhere in that room is Luella. It is garishly opposed to the vibe you've tried to create in the grand mega gala hall, and I think it's kind of off-putting.
It is aesthetically a bit different, and I don't recall hiring the contractors for this room. She squints into it. It's darker in there, right?
Much darker, like blacklight bowling alley dark.
Ooh, okay. So we just get a shot of Vivian and Ulysses lingering in the doorway to this room, and it's the lighting in here is dark, but both of their eyes are lit up. Hers the pink, his the yellow-orange, just like cats caught in a flashlight, you know what I mean?
Cool.
I can fix many things, my dear, but I think style is more your purview than mine.
Well, you can still live stylishly even if you're not dressed so. Which you are. You are.
I didn't pick out this clothing.
Didn't you?
Someone chose it for me. It suits me well enough,
It looks great.
Thank you.
Behind Ulysses and Vivian in the main room, the music fades down. The lights also slowly lose their brightness. All the little spotlights along the side of the room now all rotate down to just be pointing at ankle level across the room. So it's very dramatic, but there's not a lot of like room lighting. Over a PA address system, the entire room can hear Kaz's voice as he speaks, although nobody can see him yet. Welcome, one and all, to the... Oh, shit. Sorry. Like, I was going to say to the inaugural, or is there a season? Like, we could do the first spring.
Well, no, there's not.
Oh, yeah.
It's based on the lockdown or the storm, right?
Do we name the storms?
Yeah, like hurricanes.
What if they have, like, legacy storms? Like, the storms share the same names, and, like, this is Gaius 1, this is Gaius 72.
Or it's the same storm that just keeps going around the planet. It never stops.
That would be very cool if, like, this is a legend, like, this is the oldest storm system. So whenever it comes around, you've got to throw a party for
It's
the
like
Gaius
Halley's
storm.
Comet.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was just going to say it's Halley's Comet.
Do we have a name?
Do you want to name it after the planet? Like this was the first storm or something?
It's
Cool.
the Caleb.
Welcome to the first one, you Caleb.
Daryl 1.
Daryl 1. Behind Ulysses and Vivian, the music in the main room dies down to a low level. The spotlights shooting up, highlighting the architecture in the room, rotate down and shoot across the room, across the floor at ankle level. Kaz's disembodied voice comes over the PA system. Welcome, everyone, to the 47th Almanac Crowe hosted lockdown. There's nowhere else to be. Tonight, we can all relax. Set aside the worries of your week, your work, your family. Tonight, as always, it's just us here in the room. Count it down with me. 10. As the room starts to count down with him in excitement, the lights slowly come up as tables begin to rise out of the ground. Kaz standing on the central one, his arms held out in a Christ-like pose, head lulled back as he rolls and enjoys the adulation and the countdown of the crowd. 7, 6, 5. The spotlights all in unison turn to highlight him as we hit 4, 3, 2, 1. All around the room in synchronization that almost shakes this building. Steel shutters slam over every single window. The front doors close. A second layer of blast doors begins to close. And Kaz stands triumphant as the crowd erupts into cheers, chaos, toasts, and drinking.
Thank you for listening to Sounds Like Crowe's Terminus, and thank you to all of our patrons that made this possible. Thank you to Prime, David Hayes, Ethan Saperstein, Wade Bernier, Kate, Chase, Jackie Betts, Sam Witch, Altaziel, Ethan Cooper, and James Wright, along with Greg Gray, Ariel Weiss, Jared, Kirby, and Jeremy Dunlap. If you want to see some amazing art done of the characters, you can go to soundslikecrows.com, or you can follow us at Sounds of Crows on Twitter. All of the art was just posted there if you're listening to this as it's coming out. The art was done by Wolfgand, at Wolfgand on Instagram and at Wolfgand Shurik on Twitter. Amazing art, adds a lot. Please go check it out. You can follow me, Caleb Sunstead, on Twitter at MarshallCaleb. You can follow my brother Isaac, who played Kaz Crowe, on Twitter at Abel the Crow. And you can find find Allie and Doug Nesbitt, who played Vivian and Ulysses Rook, on their podcast, RPG for You and Me, at rpgforyouandme.com or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Allie's on Twitter at YouSeeTheHat, and Claudius Crowe was played by Austin Holt. Thanks to Katie George for playing the salesperson at the beginning of this episode. If you want to support our show and continue to support art and music, you can go to patreon.com/SoundsLikeCrows. We have an amazing community of folks on Discord. It's my favorite place on the internet. I hang out there all the time. Come say hi. Music was done by myself or William Ecker. You can find William Ecker's stuff at musicdirector.bandcamp.com/album/almanac, or just Google William Ecker Almanac Bandcamp. You'll find it. And that's our show. Until next Monday.